So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came and played in the Space Marine community game that we had this past Saturday. If you are interested in playing in a community of Space Marine players at this moment in time, then there's a link to the Space Marine community group in the description of this video. Come and jump in, come and play with us. We're organising events every Saturday at 9 o'clock. Now let's go onward to the main talking point of this video, which is Space Marine 2. If they made Space Marine 2, how would they do it? What would be best for Space Marine 2 in terms of the single player game, in terms of co-op, and in terms of multiplayer? The reason why we're still talking about this game called Space Marine is because of the impact that it's had on so many of us. When this was released 10 years ago, it was probably one of the greatest games released for Warhammer fans. I can't really speak for other games because there was other games at the time, but really when you look at the 40k product line for PC games, it's really Dawn of War and Space Marine that stand out. So this is the reason why the community is so attached to this idea of having a sequel. Now, the following stuff I'm going to be talking about are my ideas for the sequel, are of course my ideas, but I would love to get your ideas as well. So post them down below. I would love your ideas on how they could do multiplayer, co-op, aka the Exterminatus mode, and of course the single player mode as well, because that was a huge talking point. It was such a huge talking point that we're still talking about it today. That's how impactful it was when it came to the end of that. We had Captain Titus who defeated Chaos. He crushed the Chaos Lord, but then out of nowhere, Leandros came in and he informed the Inquisition that Titus may have been affected by Chaos, or he was tainted by Chaos. That's why he was able to survive his fight with the Chaos Lord. Captain Titus was then taken away by the Inquisition for questions or something. The Black Templars were there. They were just chilling in the background like, okay, I guess we're here to help. And that was it. It was just left at that. So the game itself was actually left on a cliffhanger to make a sequel. I remember playing it. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to get a sequel for this game. And of course I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes, and now we all know that of course they went bankrupt and we never got to get that sequel. We never got to see visually what happened to Captain Titus. We know now what could have happened to him because the developers spoke up in an article. I think this article was years, I think it's like 5 or 6 years old now or something like that. One of the developers who was working on another game was asked about Captain Titus's fate, and they said that what they were planning to do for him, he was going to go renegade to prove his innocence, and it ended up with him founding a brand new chapter, and he would be the chapter master of it. I'm not too sure I really like that idea in all seriousness, because of like, how do you prove your worth to the Imperium by going renegade? I don't think anyone's ever really done that. Like, maybe he could have gone to like the Death Watch as a Black Shield or something. I think that could have been a lot cooler story, and then we take up the fight as a Death Watch. Because for me, I think if they were to do a sequel, when it comes to the story, I personally think that they should just leave it at Leandros, Titus. That was all in the past. I think they should focus on another story. Again, as I mentioned Death Watch there, we'll get into that in a second, but maybe they can focus on another chapter. I'm not saying like, you know, Imperial Fist or anything, nothing of the first founding. Maybe go to the second founding, third founding, you know, the founding that we have now, the Ultima founding. That could be a pretty talkative point. I know there's a lot of people out there that still dislike the idea of Primaris Marines, but with the whole push now towards the Primaris Marine, would it make sense if the sequel was actually based on one of those rather than one of the firstborn Marines? I don't know, you know, that is a big talking point as well. But harkening back to the Death Watch idea, because I've always had this idea, because I think it makes the game more fun for everyone then involved, because when you have the idea of Death Watch being deployed, then you have the choice of multiple characters from different chapters who can all mix together and it makes sense. For example, let's say you are playing as an unknown chapter. Let's just call it an unknown chapter for now. We haven't picked your chapter. That could be one of the options, by the way. You pick your chapter, who you're representing. Maybe that gives you a buff in game. But when it comes to that single player aspect, then you can be fighting aside a Space Wolf, a Salamander, an Imperial Fist, a Flesh Tearer. You can even have a Blood Angel there. And maybe like the final thing is like when you get to the final mission with a Blood Angel, he starts calling you Horus and you have to like gun him down or something, extremely heretical like that. So you can have these options, and then you have like the so-called interaction then between these chapters in the voice logs, much like what with Vermintide, when you kill things and the dwarf and the elf talk to each other. You could have that with like maybe the Space Wolf and the Blood Angel, like calling themselves certain names and stuff like that. You could really have that interaction and the characteristics of other chapters being deployed next to you, again, while all making sense. For me, I would love to play as Deathwatch, because then it opens up a whole bunch of different scenarios on top of that. Not only then could you be fighting orcs, you can be deployed to fight Gene Stealers, Eldar, Necrons, basically anything that Xenos say, even Chaos if you really wanted to, because Chaos they popped up in the bloody Orc game, didn't they, with Space Marine 1, so why not? They can pop up there and you end up fighting them as well. But yeah, for me, it's all about Deathwatch. I think that would make one of the greatest playthroughs for a sequel for Space Marine 2. Now, when it moves on to the other game modes, this is the reason why the game is still alive today, to be fair. We all love the single player, we all love what happened with Titus, Leandros and stuff. I'm just going to say this right now, people are going to call me a heretic, but Leandros was right on what he said, okay? He has to be correct. This guy could have been influenced by Chaos, so I appreciate what he did. And there was no chaplain around, so he went to the next person, which was a Inquisitor. So, props to Leandros. Hopefully, he took the captain spot from Titus, and Titus is locked away, being tortured for the heretic he is. Oh boy, people are going to rage. Right, anyway, on to the multiplayer side of this game, because again, like I just said, this is the reason why the game is still alive. The community has kept this game alive. So let's start with Exterminators, one of my favorite bloody game modes. The only thing I dislike about it is how many people you can get into it. When we had the Space Marine multiplayer game, you can get 16 people, and then they put that down to 4 people when it comes to Exterminators. I would have loved it if we could have got the full 16 people in that game mode on one side and also against each other. So what I'm on about here is like, right, okay, you can have one Exterminatus mode where there's 16 of you deployed, and instead of having like the hordes of like, the boys and stuff that happen with the orcs, you have the more elite things coming at you, like the mega armored knobs and stuff like that, charging you, waves of 16 people, half the whole. I mean, I'm on about waves upon waves upon waves upon waves. So we open it up so everyone can get involved. It's more bigger, the battles are more epic, there's more explosions, people are being butchered left, right. It's just madness. It's complete madness. And the other side of that is adding 16 people, 8 versus 8, while there's PvE elements in there. Say you are fighting for this objective, Chaos is fighting for that objective, or whoever you're fighting against is fighting for that objective. Let's just say Space Marines versus Chaos. They're both fighting for this objective in the middle, but then the orcs are popping up in that game as well, and they're also causing you problems. So not only do you have to worry about the actual player in that game taking you out, you have to worry about like the mega armored knobs that are pouring out and stuff like that to also do you damage, because not only are you fighting for that point, the orcs are also fighting for that point as well. And maybe both teams could lose and the actual computer wins. How embarrassing would that be? The PvP mode, of course, is where all the fun is at the moment. You've got, Annihilation, Seize Ground, Capture the Flag, Capture points and stuff like that. All the awesome game modes. The maps are fantastic. I've never had a problem with the maps. I still love the maps these days. It's not one map I can call out and say, this is a bad map compared to like other Space Marine games. Sorry, other MP PvP games which I've played on. It's like, no, every one of these maps are fun. They're designed great and they're fantastic. So hopefully that would come over to the sequel as well. We'd have these fun and enticing, awesome maps. First things first, I would love the player count to be pumped up. 32 players, okay? 32 players minimum online. Let's try and make this like a little mini Battlefield game. I'm not saying like all the perks in Battlefield, but let's try and get as many people on these maps as possible, purging in the Emperor's name or in Chaos's name or whatever enemy they choose to put in for the sequel, if they do the sequel, that is. Again, if they do the sequel. So yeah, player count is big for me. The customizer is fantastic. Hopefully they would bring that over and put that in the sequel, because again, I've never seen a game which gives you that much customizable options in a Space Marine, well, should I say in a 40k product, everything's been like, you know, you can only set like a preset skin and stuff like that. This one, you can literally go in, do the trim, do the shoulder pads, the legs, the feet, everything. You can literally go around looking like a multi-colored clown if you wanted to. And I haven't seen that type of customization since that game of Space Marine, so hopefully they'd bring that in, because people make their own chapters. I keep seeing my Reclaimers of Dawn being represented in the game, which is absolutely fantastic. I keep seeing people do them as Chaos as well, which I'm not a fan of, and this is not lore, but you know, I appreciate people actually representing the colours of the Reclaimers, so it's nice to see that. So yeah, it gives people the option to make their own chapters, to copy other people's chapters and play them in game and purge in, you know, whatever army they want. The biggest complaint right now playing Space Marine is of course the P2P system. For those of you who are not aware, it's basically shared connection. So if you have a bad connection, you keep getting switching to host. It pauses the game. It can cause a lot of headache, especially when you're about to gun this guy down who's been hunting you all bloody game. You've got him in your sights, and then the game pauses, it unpauses, and then he's no longer there. It can be very, very frustrating. So maybe they can do something better with the servers. Maybe they can even do like dedicated servers for the game where, you know, you pay a month, you go on, you get your own server, and you can put the game on there. You can host it, you can close it. That way you can add another element of the community spirit to the game, because when you have your own dedicated servers, you can host your events. You can have like, you know, tonight we're going to be doing such and such event, such and such event. You can close it down to do private PvP matches, and that way, you know, you can get really like a lot of tournament stuff going on the cards and stuff like that, because in this day and age now, when it comes to streaming and it comes to competitive play, there's a whole different environment out there. This is one of the things that the game is missing at the moment now, is like a spectator mode. I've been saying this for the past couple of months. If this game now had spectator mode, I would love to set up something where I could personally spectate the game, and then we can get like proper clans in the game to fight each other, and maybe do a tournament with like money incentive, model incentive, stuff like that. So we can actually watch it. We can watch the chaos and the massacre on play, and we can get the two best teams fighting each other to win a bunch of cool stuff. I should have mentioned this with a map bit just a second ago, so excuse me if this is all over the place when it comes to this video. I think if they add more maps, more environments, like the last one was basically on the world we were playing on the single play map, but I would love one like on board a starship or something, you know, like really going through like the halls of a battle barge. You've basically assaulted it. I'm not sure what that game mode's called, where it has stages. I think it was Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 3 or the latest Battlefront had it, where when you win a game mode, it takes you to the next map or the next environment, a part of that. It's like one big fluid mission. Maybe if we can have something like that, where we start on the ground, we take the ground, we launch then an orbital attack on the ship, and we have to like take down the ship in orbit to rid us of the enemies or whoever's bloody attacking the planet or something like that. So if we can have like those type of game modes, I really, really enjoyed them in Battlefront, and I think that would be a great addition to a potential sequel for Space Marine 2. I'm probably going to leave the video there, Chaperoonios, because I'm just waffling on now. I'm really excited that Space Marine has got this anniversary edition. It's brought a breath of life back into this game, and it is absolutely brilliant again to see it so active, to see so many new people jumping on, playing. Again, if you want to come and join my little Space Marine community that I've got going at the moment, we mainly do private matches, so it keeps out, you know, the hackers and stuff, because sadly there is still hackers in this game, people breaking it to try and make you have a bad experience. So what we tend to do is trying to do these private matches that keeps those type of players out, and it just brings more fun to the table. So yeah, if you're interested in that, again, the link is in the description of this video. Again, please tell me your thoughts on this. What would you love? What would you like? How would you make Space Marine 2 if you had the chance? What would you love it to be? Right, enough waffling. See you now. Have a great day, and bye-bye.